Okay, fine everyone. Let's start with the next part of QTP tutorial where we'll be talking about object repository, right? And we'll be starting off with the basics of QTP. Now, first of all, this is a simple test which I have over here. If I open my browser and suppose if I move over to the website yahoo.com, right? On yahoo.com, let it load. Okay, you as an end user. Okay, you as an end user, you when you look at this website, you can see that this is a link, this is a text. Okay, there is some button, right? So you as an end user, you recognize the things because you know how a link looks like, you know how text looks like, you know how a button looks like. Okay, right? So similarly, these features are there in UFT as well, right? For example, if I look at a link, okay, suppose if I look at this finance link on the left hand side, right? Now if I click on it and if I go further and explore, it's okay, fine. Now if I open this website and if I come to the website again, say tomorrow if I again come to the website, I will remember that there was a finance link on the left hand menu because I had used it yesterday, right? It's where it went somewhere in my memory and it got stored. Okay, on the similar concept, right, on the similar concept, UFT also works. It's also got its own memory, right, where it stores all the objects. Okay, what do you mean by an object? Everything on a page, a link, a button, text, right, even the browser, everything, right, is known as an object. Technically in automation, all the application under test and all the components of that application are known as objects. A link is an object, a button is an object, a text field is an object, a browser is an object, right? So UFT stores all these objects somewhere inside its memory. The memory is known as object repository. Okay, for example, right, you as a human being, you have got your eyes, you look at some things, right, and then you store it in your memory. Fine. The eye of UFT is known as object spy. The option is available under tools object spy. Okay, this is the eye of UFT. Okay, if I click on the hand icon over here, right, and then if I move the hand icon anywhere on the page, okay, so you will be seeing that UFT is able to detect the objects. If your UFT is not able to detect the objects, just watch the previous module in which I had shown that various mistakes which you can do, right, and various rules for UFT to recognize objects. Okay, so if you move your mouse over this, you will be able to recognize the objects, right? Object spy will show the object hierarchy. Fine. To use object spy, you should have some basic things in mind. First of all, the window which has to be observed should be opened at back of UFT. Okay, so that when you click on this hand icon, when UFT disappears, the window comes up. Right. If I click on any link on UFT, okay, that link will come up over here. Okay, these will be the various identification properties of that link. You will get all the kinds of properties of that link. Okay, fine. Moreover, you will see the object hierarchy out here as well. Browser, page, link, and all that other stuff. Okay. Now the class name for this object is link. This class name is a predefined class name. There are various types of class names in UFT. Okay. If I look at this text over here. Okay, this text is under the class web element. Okay, if I look at, hold on, let me scroll up. Now when you are spying, you will not be able to do anything on the page. Okay, when you are spying, you will not be able to say, if you want to scroll the page, you will not be able to do. Sometimes what happens is that you want to move the object spy to the left hand side. When you try to do it, okay, UFT comes back. Right. So at times it can be a little frustrating for you to use spy because you cannot just do anything with this spy window. But if you hit the control button of your keyboard, okay, and then spy gets disabled. If you hit the control button of your keyboard, spy gets disabled. you can move your spy window anywhere and spy something else. Okay, while spying, suppose if I actually go and look at this particular link, net neutrality. Okay, now while spying, if I want to browse through the properties which are shown under identification properties, okay, I can also hit the control button again, right, of the keyboard. This will disable spy and I can browse through the properties. Okay, I can release the button and then start spying something else as well. So these are few things. When you'll practice, you'll come to know and you will actually uh, get used to it as well. Okay, now spy is like the eye of QFT. Okay, it tells you about the various types of objects and all everything. Right. For example, if you look at this thing, this is a link. The class name is link. I told you, right? There are predefined class names. For a text, generally the class name is web element. Okay, I'll show you some examples. Hold on. Let me go to Google page. A very simple example. Let me show you. Okay, just a minute. Right, for example, I am on the very basic page, that is the Gmail login page. If I look at this next button, the predefined class name for this button is web button. If I look at this text field, for text field the predefined class name is web edit. So there are predefined class names for every category of objects. Okay, for the drop down, okay, the class name is web list. So all the web based components, they start with web. The class names start with web. If I open a calculator, okay, and if I try to spy a calculator, if I look at this button, right, these buttons are win button. If I look at the text field over here, right, it's a win object. Okay, so for a Windows based application, everything starts with win. Alright, the names of the predefined classes. Okay, now if you look at, if you spy at the button number 5, for example, right, you can look at the hierarchy. In hierarchy, there's a window class object which is calculator. Under that there is a win button. This is how the hierarchy goes like. Similarly, in the web based applications as well, if you look at this next button, for example, the first level object is the browser Gmail. Under that there is a page Gmail. The title of the page is Gmail. Under that there is a web button, next. Okay, the name of the web button is next. Alright, so this is the hierarchy of the object. This hierarchy, the complete hierarchy will be stored inside the brain of UFT, which is known as object repository. Okay, now for example, I'll show you. Okay, you can go to resources and you can go to object repository. Okay, now object repository is something like the brain of UFT. Okay, now if you start recording, fine, hold on, let me reduce the browser size. Right, if you start recording, okay, this is, hold on, right, this is the browser and this is the object repository of UFT. Just a minute. Fine, so the moment if I click on the button next, you will see the next button will come in the object repository. If I type in hello over here, okay, you will see the email text field will come in the object repository. Right, I'll stop the recording. Just hold on. I'll stop the recording. Fine. So you see that, just a minute, these are unnecessary objects which are coming. You see that this is the browser class object whose name is Gmail. Inside it there is a page class object whose name is Gmail. Inside it there is a web button known as next. So each level is displayed over here. You see the first level is the browser level which was available in Object Spy. Okay, object spy is also available in object repository. Okay, if I use object spy, if I spy the next button, so you will be able to map the objects from object spy into object repository. The first object is the browser. Okay, the class is browser. See, the class is predefined and the name of the object is Gmail. Right. Then after that, the page class object comes up whose name is Gmail. Now this is a web edit whose name is email, and these are the various description properties of that. Okay, right, and that's what is there in the code as well. Okay, if you look at the code, the stuff which is not in the brackets, right, these browser, page, web button, these are the predefined objects. Okay, this is a browser class object whose name is Gmail. Right, this is the browser class object whose name is Gmail. Inside it, there is a page class object. You see this? This is a page class object whose name is again Gmail. Right. Inside it, there is a web button. Now, inside this page, there are two objects. One is web button, one is web edit. So this is the web button. Okay. And this is the name of the web button is next dot click. So you click on it. So this is how the mapping is done. Okay, when UFT will read the objects, it will read that, find this, go to the object repository, find the browser class object whose name is Gmail, so it will find this. Inside it find the page Gmail, and inside it find the web button next. Okay, let me explain this very clearly to you with the help of diagram and also tell you how in advanced QTP we do it. Right. Now, so what we are doing is that this is our, hold on, web page. This is our object repository. This is our code. Fine. So this is the web page. Right. This is the object repository. This is the code. When we record it, okay, when we do the recording, right, the object from the web page gets stored in the object repository in a hierarchical manner, and the code is generated for the complete action. Okay, when we run the code, okay, first the mapping from the object repository is done. Whatever you have written in the code, it's checked whether all the objects or corresponding to the line which is executing are present in the object repository or not. Okay, and then UFT finds the object from the object repository into the web page. Okay, so this is what is happening right now. Right, the browser class object is detected, then the page is detected in object repository, then web button is detected in object repository, and then on the page. Okay, from the object repository. When we work on advanced UFT, okay, we bypass the object repository. We don't use the object repository that time. We directly write the code which will interact with the web page. Okay, right. Now comes the question, what if the object is not recognized? Alright, now for example, I told you that in advanced UFT we directly do it. This part we'll look at it later on. Let's talk about the above part. Okay, now what if, right, the object is not there on the web page. Okay, now in that case, what I mean by telling this is that suppose we are here. Okay, now tomorrow this next button is not present on the page. What will happen? Okay, right. For example, if I try to run the same code on, say, the page google.com, okay, where the next button is not there. If I run this, okay, it will not run, it will throw me an error, but it will not throw me an error instantly. Okay, you see, the line is getting executed. UFT is waiting, it is trying to find the button on the web page, but it is unable to do. It is able to find the button in the object repository. Right, mapping from code to object repository is successful, but from object repository to the web page, I am talking about, hold on, let me stop this. I am talking about this phase. This phase is not successful. This is successful. Okay, and you got the error in the end. That error clearly told that the web button was not found on the page. Right. So this error comes after some time. This time is known as the synchronization timeout. Okay. So when the mapping is done from the object repository to the web page and the object is not found, UFT wait till some time to find the object. This object is known as, sorry, this time is known as synchronization time. Right, you can change this time. You can go to file settings, run settings. Under that object synchronization timeout, by default it is 20 seconds. You can make it anything. Right. So this is known as the synchronization timeout. If something is not present on the page, UFT will keep on polling the page until or unless it's able to find out. Sometimes the objects, they take a little time to appear. Okay, for example, Ajax based applications are there and other stuff. Okay, so in that case, synchronization timeout helps us in a lot of ways. Alright, now one thing, if I go to my object repository, sorry, right, and if I look at the next button, these are the properties of the button. Fine. If the name of the button is next, right, if I change the name over here, right, then this button will not be recognized from the code into the object repository. Now this is your mistake as a scripter. Okay, when you are writing script, this will be your mistake. This is not a mistake in the application. So if I run this code now, it will instantly throw me an error. Okay, right, it will not wait for the synchronization timeout. It's not throwing the error right now because of there are some concepts because of which it's not throwing, but I'm just telling you, if it is not there in the object repository, if the mapping of the line into the object repository is not done properly, then synchronization timeout doesn't apply over there. Okay, right, so you have to be very careful. Alright, sorry, it is next. Right. Now, one more thing. There is something known as external name and internal name. Right. For example, if I click on it, this is the browser class object whose name is Gmail. I can change this name. Right. I can change this name as well. If I change the name over here, if I write suppose browser class object XYZ, now this mapping will never be made into the object repository. This will fail. If I run this code, if I change it manually, it will immediately throw an error. So make sure that you don't do these kinds of mistakes. You cannot just directly change over here. Okay, right. If you change in the object repository, I name my browser as Mozilla and hit enter button. So as soon as I do it, it gets changed in the code as well. So this is the advantage. Okay, if the page class object is Gmail, right? If I change this page to Google Mail and hit enter, it will automatically change everywhere in the code. Right, you just cannot change in the code and expect it to change in the repository. No, you have to change it in the repository, automatically it will change in the code. Okay, right, the next button over here, right, I can call it a login button. So it changes in the code over here, but the internal properties should remain same. You should not fiddle with these and you should not try to change them unnecessarily. This is like an external name which gets mapped from the code in the repository. Okay, this name is actually corresponding to this name. These are the properties. Okay, these properties are very important. You should not fiddle with them unnecessarily. Okay, right. Now let me take example of a Windows based calculator. Fine, I'll record this. This is the calculator. I am clicking somewhere, so everything gets recorded. Okay, and if you look at the object repository, right, you will see the calculator object and there are various buttons inside it. Every button has a name, right, and every button has got a window ID as well, which is changing. Right, so probably with the help of window IDs, right, UFT recognizes the buttons. Now you can change these button names if you want. Okay, for example, the first button, I'm not sure, I think the first button was number 9. So you can keep it number 9. So you will have 9 over here. So it will look a very good number to you, which you will recognize. But actually this number 9 button would be recognized with the help of this window ID. Okay, so this is how UFT recognizes things, right? It recognizes, right, and then it stores in the object repository. You can change the names of the objects in the object repository. I can change this calculator to CALC only and hit the enter button. It will change everywhere in the code. Alright, fine. Now I've covered few of the things over here. The classification of objects, that means everything. Okay, every object is classified like a link, a web button, a web element, a web edit. Okay, so I've actually described these of the things. Now dragging objects, you can also drag the objects, right? For example, if I delete this code, I have the object repository with me. I can make it again. I can drag this object like this. The code will automatically generate. Okay, you just have to drag the objects and that's it. That's what people do, right? At times they just finalize their object repository first and then simply drag the objects and all. You can also share this object repository. You can email this object repository to your friend. I'll tell you later how you can email it, right? And when he gets it in the email, right, he will import this object repository into his UFT and he can simply drag the objects onto the code. Okay, you can zip and email the object repository as well. So dragging is very important and it's very nice as well. It saves a lot of time. Right. Now, till now, I hope you understood the concept of object synchronization as well. Right. Till now, I have shown about, I have talked about adding objects in the object repository. Okay, which is while recording. Right. Now, you can also manually add the objects. Okay, it's not necessary that you have to record and add. Hold on, let me create a new test. I'm creating a new test. Right. Now every test has a blank object repository. Okay. The spy option is there in object repository as well. Okay. Right. Now suppose I go to Gmail page again and let's take a very simple example. Fine. If I'm spying, suppose I spy this page and I spy this email web edit. Okay, right. You see this plus icon over here, add object to a repository. So with object spy also you can directly, if I click on plus, this object will be added in the object repository. Similarly, I can add the next button as well. Right, I can click on add icon and the next button will be added in the repository. And I can simply drag them over here and generate the code as well. In the email field, you set your user ID. Okay, so you can add the objects in the object repository while spying. Fine. Moreover, you can directly add the objects from the object repository window as well. You will see this icon over here, plus icon. Okay, add objects to local. When you click on this, UFT will disappear and whichever object you click on, for example, I click on the create account link, right, this link will come up and you can add it. So this is the second way to add the objects, through this button, right. So you click anywhere and you click on the object, right. Now if I want to add all the objects of a web page in the repository, all the buttons, links, everything in the repository, if I want to add, I can also do that. You click on this icon, click anywhere on the page, okay, and you will get this hierarchy. In this hierarchy, select page. Alright, select page in this hierarchy, click on OK, you will see a filter window like this. Alright, in this filter window, select all object types and click on OK. So this will add all the objects of the page in this particular window, right? But generally we don't do like this. Okay, you don't add all the objects and all, you don't make the object repository very bulky, but I'm just telling you, you should be knowing. Now after adding, if I'm not knowing, for example, if I don't know where the link need help is there in the object repository, okay, you can also find it, right? For finding it, there is this circle icon, locate in repository. Okay, so you click on this, UFT will disappear. You click on need help, right, and click on OK, and this need help will be highlighted. You see that it gets highlighted in the object repository, right? So you can find the object, in the object repository as well, right? And similarly, from the object repository, if I have to find where the object is present on the web page, okay, I can also do that. Look, I am teaching you small things first. Later on, I'll be joining everything and doing an exercise with you, right? So just be with me. For example, this uh, learn more link. Where is it present in the application? You select this link. You'll see the highlight in application button. So when you click on this, that button will be highlighted. Hold on, learn more is not right now out here. Hold on, let me select the next button, and when you click on this, you see the next button will be highlighted. Similarly, if you look at the create account link, right, if you click on highlight in application, this will be highlighted, right? So at times the object repository becomes so big that you also don't know, okay, where which object is present. So you use this kind of you can say scenario over there, that you highlight the objects and then you actually um, find them. All right, fine. Now moving ahead, okay, adding selected objects of the page. Now I told you how to add all the objects of a page in a repository, right? Let me delete this repository. Okay, now suppose if I have to add all the objects from a web page, okay, that you can do, right? But suppose if I only want to add the links of this page into the repository, only the links, right? So again you can do the same thing. You click on this plus icon, you select click anywhere on the page, select page, click on OK, and then you select the option selected object types, and you select over here and you see, yeah, if I don't want to select browser button, I don't want all those things, uncheck them, right? I only want links from this page. Okay, so you just keep the link checked up. Okay, okay, so all the links of the page will come up over here. So that is the importance, that is the real thing. Okay, so you will be able to get objects of a particular type as well in the object repository. Alright, fine. So this is how you actually do the work. Now coming over to practical, right? Practically, if I am asked to automate the Gmail page, then what will I do? Right, suppose I am working in a team, right? Suppose this is the scenario, that these are my team members. They are given a project to automate. Okay. Now if everyone starts in his own way, although everyone is working on different test cases, everyone is given different test cases, everyone is given 3 test cases to automate. Okay. Now the problem which will come is that suppose there is a common page will of all of them, the home page obviously of the website will be common. Right. Now there is a common page, or there are some common objects for every team member. If every team member starts working on his own, right, every team member will have his own object repository. Every team member will name the object repository in his own way. Every team member will define the objects or name the objects inside object repository in his own way. Right. So this will create a lot of confusion when everybody clubs the code together. Right. All the 5 team members will have UFT installed on their machines. All the 5 team members will try to, you can say, have their own repository. Okay. So over here we come with the concept of shared repository. So what we do is that we use a common repository known as shared repository. Okay. This shared repository is shared across all the team members. Okay, all the team members access this shared repository. All the team members are able to, you can say, get the common objects. Okay, so the first thing is that we finalize this repository first. When we build a project, we finalize the repository first, and then we share it across multiple people of the team. Alright, so how do we make a shared repository? Right. So let us do a small pilot project on this and let's see how the concept of shared repository is done. Right. So in the next part we'll talk about it.